Welcome to my channel. Today I've got a little job which involves making a very simple understairs sort of cupboard front, if you like. So we're not doing anything mad on the inside for now. We're just creating a nice cupboard front for it, and it's the end of this job, so budgets get a bit tight towards the end of the job. So we're just going to use MDF off the shelf. We've got plain MDF which I'm going to make the frame out of. We've also got an oak veneered MDF which I'm going to use for the front. So even though it's going to be on a slight budget, it's still going to look really nice and very easy to finish. So here is the staircase. Now I fitted this staircase a while back when we did this whole loft conversion here, and so the idea is we've got painted strings and painted elements, and we've also got oak elements like these newel posts. So what my customers decided to do was do all of this front in an oak veneered MDF, so it can all be finished. When this is finished with some oil, this can all be finished, so it'll all look the same, so it'll look really nice. So the idea is we're going to have a pair of doors here, a single door and a fixed panel here because of this ball nose we need to keep behind it. And because of the ball nose, we're going to start by running a soffit up here which sets the cupboard front back slightly, and then the cupboard front will be just relieved behind the line of the newels. So we're going to match all of the grain up as well, so we'll cut these doors and the little panel that goes above out of the one piece, and we're going to use 3 sheets of MDF. 1 sheet of plain MDF to make the back frame. The back frame will be painted. That's to keep the cost down as opposed to using solid or oak veneered for that. And then we're going to use oak veneered on the front and an iron-on edging strip. So it's a little bit on the fiddly side, but once we've got the rail saw set up, it's a very simple, quick and easy job. So I've got a very simple setup. I've got my stalls, my trestles, I've got a sheet of plain MDF on here which I'm just about to rip down into what I'm going to use for the frames. The frames consist of strips, okay, and the strips will be laminated together because we're using a cabinet hinge, like a Blum type hinge. So we have to have 2 thicknesses of MDF together to make sure the doors, when they lay on, they're all set up correctly. So I'm going to break out some of the strips of MDF here. I've made a cutting list, a few bits at 85mm, and I've got to have some at 50mm, and I've got to have a couple at 146. So I'm going to take out these from here with the rail saw. I'll break them out in slightly bigger manageable panels, then I'll put them through my table saw. So that's the first job, get on with that, and then I can start making the frame. First step done. Just reducing this sheet of MDF down to more manageable bits. Now I'm going to put that through my table saw to make the repeat strips. So I've got my site table saw set up. I'm going to bring the material through, I'm going to run it through into the different pieces, and then it's on to cutting the panels. So I've ripped all the bits out. Now I'm going to go and start on the frame. So I made a really simple frame by ripping out lots of strips of MDF which form everything I need to hang the panels off. We've got a really interesting detail here where, to avoid this curtail tread at the bottom, we've set the construction back which pronounces the string here. So the paintwork will come from this oak trim all the way down. We're going to have a quadrant bead in here to form a nice ovalo between this and this, and then the paint will come right round here. All of the frame that you don't see, only when you open the doors, all of that will be painted white, so we've kept the cost down by using MDF. Then we're going to use a really nice oak veneered board to form the panels. So we've got a pair of doors here with a level section across the top, so we don't try and open up underneath this newel. We'll bring that across in line with the top of these doors, and then this single door is the same size as these doors, and then that little blank bit there, if you look straight forward, it's just so the tread, the door can open and not hit the tread, so that'll get blanked off in oak as well. So it's going to look really sweet. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Didn't take me long to knock that frame up, rip all the bits down, nothing to it really. We've got like a soffit here, a face here. We formed a rebate there, and then all of these other sections are just fixed in. So super simple, there's nothing to it really. And now it's just a matter of swinging the oak doors on the front. Once they're all done, edge them and job is good. So I've got the first pair of oak doors cut out. I've had to allow in the framework for the door to come round because it's not flush with the front of the staircase, because you've got to tuck everything behind the newel effectively. So what I've used is one whole sheet of oak faced MDF, and I've cut both of those doors and the scribe here and the piece that goes over the top that forms the head from the same sheet, so you can see that the grain all still matches through. And then the door next to it obviously is from the same piece of timber, so it's all from the same stuff. So to do that I had to obviously use a rail saw with a really fine blade. I made sure I had a super fine blade and marked it all out really accurately, and then clamped the rail on and put the cuts through to make sure it was all absolutely perfect. And once I did that, it was a matter of bringing them in, setting up the top panel above, and then getting it all set out for hinges. I'm using Blum Blue Motion hinges here. Just put those on with a very simple tool. It's called a Kreg jig, is the one I use to put that on. And then I've got a small Blum jig to put the plates on as well. So that was really easy. And you can see it's the same over on this side as well. So I use 3 on this shorter door, 4 on this taller door, and I'll probably use 3 on this door here that's going to go next to it here. So yeah, it's really quite rewarding. So I've also used an iron on oak, and that obviously finishes all those nice edges off. So it's really straightforward, something you can easily do on site. Now it's a matter of me going outside, cutting up this last door and panel, putting the hinges on and swinging it, and then the iron on edging, and it's done. So I'm all set up out here. I've got my rail saw here, and the first job is I've turned the board. So this is the back, this is the side, effectively going to be the inside. And even though I've got the most finest blade in this saw, it's super fine, it's got 56 teeth. I'm still going to be cutting through the back. It's just good practice, okay? And so the other side is absolutely perfect. And this is super important when you're using an iron-on edging strip. You don't want any kind of chips going in there. So this is the bottom of the sheet, and it had a few little frays on the other side, which is just manufacturer frays. So I'll take off 10mm off that. Then I'll set out my panel and cut it all up. And the next thing will be put the hinges on it, okay? So let's have a look at the quality of that cut. So this is the side, which isn't the face side, yet the cut is absolutely pristine. So this blade, as I say, it's a 1.5 mm kerf, millimetre thick blade, so they're super thin, made in Japan, so Japanese quality. And you can really see that. I mean, look at that cut. So all I have to do now is mark this out, the triangle, make the door and the fixed panel out of it, and then put the hinges on, take them in, try them, take them off, edge them, and the job is done. So to put the hinges in, I'm just using this Kreg jig, which actually gives you exactly what you need, okay? It gives you the right margin off the back of the door. It's fairly straightforward to use. This one's a bit dull now. They do get a bit dull, especially if you've been using them on plastic laminates and that sort of stuff. Once I've done that, because I'm using these Blue Motion clip-on hinges, okay, what does that mean? That means that they've got these ferrules. There's no screws to attach them in. The idea is that once you press them into the hole you drill, you clip that shut and it opens up these ferrules and locks them in. They're really nice. They've also got soft close that you can turn on and turn off by the switch. And these ones are in this new sort of gunmetal grey colour, which is really nice as well. But to get that, so this jig will drill the main hole, okay, like the 35mm hole. Then once I've done that, I slide this jig in, which goes into the hole, and I use this drill bit and it bores down to take those ferrules. So it's a fairly straightforward thing. Now, because this door is angled and I've got to try and get my hinge plate on the frame and screwed in, I need to, instead of allowing the distance down that I'd normally go, which is about 75 millimeters, I've got to come down enough to get a screwdriver in. So I think the closest thing I can be is about 200 millimeters. Bring that down 200. I'll just mark that one up first. And the bottom I'll keep it the same as the others, which is 75 millimeters up to the center there. And that next one will just be in the middle of them there. Another little tip, these things leave lines if you're not careful. Some of the plastic on vacuums, or even the metal ones, definitely, if you run that around without a brush, then it will leave lines. You see me using my hand just to keep it like that. Now this is ready, okay? So now this is ready for the next one. The next one's a lot easier. It just involves a 8mm drill bit which comes with it. And the drill bit has got also a depth stop, which once it's driven into here, it stops exactly where it needs to be without going through the front of the door, of course. So we're going to get that on there next. And then we're sliding this. This is an adjustable slide. It just holds it nice and true effectively. That's what you need. So to get it nice and true, you loosen this off. And this is a wedge. And you can just wedge it in, and it keeps everything nice and straight then. Much quicker. Quick vacuum off. Three hinges. So basically, I'll just get these roughly positioned, and they're a really good friction fit, to the point where you often find you need to get a rubber mallet just to tap them, help you tap them home. I'll show you what I mean. So you need a soft rubber mallet just to give them a little knock until the plate's dead flat all the way around. At that point then, squeeze over the cap. So we're looking for it to be dead flat all the way around. And that's ready. I'm just going to clip the clips in so I don't lose them when I take them in. And that's it. That's how easy it is to put those hinges in without any fancy machinery. So the next job, bring the door in, slot it in position so I've got it packed up level with the door next to it. So I'm just using one of these biking arms to hold it up, and then it's just a matter of making sure the top is at its position so when it closes it's dead in line with the angle of that one. And then we come round and simply mark the centre line off the hinges straight back onto our frame, ready for drilling. And that's where we use the next small jig, which is this again. So this is the one we used for the ferrules, and the idea is we just rest it against the two lugs there, and there's two holes you can see which say I think they say 37, I can't see that properly from here, and they're the actual holes that we drill, 5mm holes there, and that is perfect for the plates. And the plates are on a ferrule as well, so they've got these small ferrules like plugs. That's why we're using a 5mm hole. These aren't suitable for fixing because they don't have a countersink hole. They have actually a little raw plug in them, but they're really lovely. You just pop them in, screw them home. I often like just using a hand screwdriver for these sort of thing. You just know you're not going to over tighten it. If you use an impact driver, sometimes you can just over tighten them. I just think that's bad news. They fall off. And that's it. Tighten them up. Repeat the process and swing the door. Just a matter of clipping it on. And testing it shuts. So obviously there's lots of adjustment on this, but before I do all that, I'm going to put the iron-on edging strips all the way around it, and then I'll swing it and fix the final panel and do the edge on there.